discussion on Transfer of Property Act. Let us discuss the provisions of marshalling as provided in the Transfer of Property Act. We find two sections regarding marshalling. You know, marshalling means arranging, something arranging, marshalling. What you should just understand the provisions of marshalling, comparing the sections, provisions in section 56, so far as sale is concerned, and the provisions in section 81, so far as the mortgage is concerned. Section 81 of the Transfer Property Act deals marshalling securities. Or section 56 says marshalling by subsequent purchaser. So section 56 says marshalling by subsequent purchaser, whereas section 81 says marshalling securities. Both this marshalling based on the rule of equity. Rule of equity. If you just go through the provisions of section 56 and section 81 simultaneously, then you can understand what is the difference regarding marshalling in case of sale, that is by a subsequent purchaser. This right is available to a subsequent purchaser, and in case of section 81, this right is available to a subsequent mortgagee. Section 56 provides that when two properties have been mortgaged, in case of mortgage, there is a limited transfer, that is, property is transferred as an interest is transferred in the property as security for payment of money to be advanced by way of loan. Two properties were under mortgage. So the owner of the property or the mortgagor can sell the property because there is no transfer of ownership. Ownership is still in the, that is, mortgagor. So if mortgagor sells one of the property, then in such case, the subsequent purchaser has a right to postpone or to ask the mortgagee of the prior mortgagee to have his debt satisfied from the property which has not been sold to him, but so as not to cause prejudice to him. Say for example, X is the owner of property Y and Z. He had mortgaged that property to L for 2 lakh rupees. Not L to a particular bank for 2 lakh rupees. Then X sold the property Y to M. Then, when in absence of a contract to the contrary, then the M has a right to ask the bank which had taken the security of both the properties, the property which had been sold to him and the property which had not been sold to him, to have the debt satisfied of the concerned bank from the property which has not been sold. Suppose first the bank will be asked to proceed against the property which has not been sold. If the value of that property, if the sale proceeds of that property is sufficient to satisfy the debt, okay. If any deficit is there, suppose the sale proceed is not satisfying the entire mortgage debt. So, if for the remaining debt, remaining mortgage dues, the bank may proceed against the property which has been sold by that mortgage. This is marshalling in case of sale. What if section 56? You see, if the owner of two or more properties mortgages them to one person, first, two or more properties Suppose let us two properties or three properties. Those properties were mortgaged to one person and then sells one or more of the properties to another person. Then the owner of that person sells one property. Suppose four properties are in mortgage or two properties were sold to another person. Then the buyer, in the absence of a contract to the contrary, if there is a contract contrary to this provision, then that will prevail. In absence of a contract to the contrary, entitled to have the mortgage debt satisfied out of the property or properties not sold to him. So this subsequent purchaser has the right to ask the mortgagee to have his debt satisfied from the property which has not been sold to him, so far as the same will extend, but not so as to prejudice the rights of the mortgagee or persons claiming under him or any other person who has for consideration acquired an interest in any of the properties. That means if that property, the value of the sale proceed, suppose that property which had not been sold, that was put to sale for realization of the mortgage money, either by the mortgagee or any of the representative through whom that is any of his representatives or to whom he has assigned the mortgage. If that the mortgage dues cannot be recovered fully from the sale proceeds of the property which has not been sold, then for the remaining dues, that mortgagee or his representative or any other person who has acquired any interest in the property, they proceed against that property which has been sold. This is section 56. That is, court will make an arrangement. Marshalling is an arranging. Arrangement is to be made regarding the realization of the mortgage dues. This is section 56. You should remember marshalling it. This section must be remembered. Marshalling by subsequent purchaser. This section 56. Marshalling by subsequent purchaser. But section 81 is marshalling securities. Marshalling securities. Suppose, what is that marshalling securities? Suppose two or more properties have been mortgaged to a person. First, two or more properties have been mortgaged. Thereafter, one of such property was mortgaged to another person. In these cases, there are two mortgages. First, two properties were mortgaged by the mortgagor to one person. Thereafter, he mortgaged one of such property to another mortgage. Then in such case, the subsequent mortgagee, in absence of a contract to the contrary, has a right to ask the first mortgagee to satisfy his debt from the property which has not been mortgaged to him. And if similarly without prejudice of his right, that means the first mortgagee will be asked, you proceed to realize the mortgage dues from the two properties have been mortgaged. One or the second, one of other property, one of those properties was mortgaged to another person. That mortgagee will ask that the first mortgagee, you realize your debt from the mortgage property which has not been mortgaged. First, proceed against the other property which has not been mortgaged for the second time. And if you are unable to realize your mortgage dues, then the property which has been mortgaged for the second time, against that property, this first mortgage will proceed or will take any action or proceed under law to realize the remaining mortgage dues. This is section, that is 81. That is marshalling of securities. That is marshalling by subsequent purchaser. Here, section 81, marshalling by securities. You go through section 81. If the owner of two or more properties, first two or more properties, mortgages them to one person. The owner of two or more properties first mortgage those property one person and then mortgages one or more properties to another person. Then second mortgage is made by of one of such property or two or more such properties. Suppose 5 properties had been mortgaged. Thereafter to one person. Thereafter 2 properties were mortgaged to another person. Subsequent one. Then in absence of a contract to the contrary, if a contract contrary to this provision is not there. In absence of a contract, if such a contract is there, then that will prevail. In absence of a contract to the contrary, entitled to have the prior mortgage debt satisfied out of the property or properties not mortgaged to him. That means the other property which are not been mortgaged to the subsequent mortgagee, the subsequent mortgagee will has a right of marshalling, that is arranged. Court he may make arrange. That means he may ask the first mortgagee to have his debt satisfied out of the property which are not been mortgaged to him, so far as the same will extend, but not so as to preserve the rights of the prior mortgagee or any other person who has for consideration acquired an interest in any other person property. The wordings are similar. There, in case of 56, we find that is marshalling by subsequent purchaser. In case of section 81, marshalling of securities. In case of this section 81, there are two mortgages. In case of section 56, first there are mortgages, two mortgages, one property was sold. Then that is one purchaser comes. In case of 56, the purchaser can exercise his right of marshalling, but asking the first mortgagee to have his debt satisfied out of the property which has not been sold to him. Here in case of section 81, the subsequent mortgagee will ask the prior mortgagee, in case he had taken mortgage of two or more properties, and if one of such property was given on mortgage to the subsequent mortgagee, then the subsequent mortgagee has a right to ask the prior mortgagee to have his debt satisfied out of the property which has not been mortgaged to him. This is marshalling. I think these two sections create confusion. If you go through these sections word by word, you can understand. Marshalling of securities, when securities comes, that is mortgages. First two properties were mortgaged, two or more properties were mortgaged to one person, then one of such property was mortgaged to another person. In such case, in absence of a contract to the contrary, it is law of equity. Equity demands that the superior creditor, that means if a superior creditor, here is an inferior creditor, he must realize his dues from the property which has not been given on mortgage for the second time. If that property, the value of that property or the sale proceeds of that property is not sufficient to meet the mortgage dues, to satisfy the mortgage dues, and for remaining dues, then the first mortgagee will proceed against the property, the property which has been given on mortgage for the second time. So this is marshalling of securities. We have again and again bringing this back to your information. That means you should know the provisions of marshalling, comparing the provisions of the Transfer Property Act in both the sections. That is section 56, that is so far as marshalling by subsequent purchaser, and under section 81 of the Transfer Property Act, marshalling of securities. Sometimes you get a question, what is marshalling? How? So there, if you just give your answer referring both the sections, then your answer will be clear. Your answer, you will be able to answer it fully, properly. Suppose you may skip up one of the section and you may give answer. Your answer will confine to section 81 without omitting the provisions of section 56. Then your answer will not be complete answer. Suppose when the question comes, what is marshalling by subsequent purchaser? Then your answer will be confined to the provisions of section 56. Suppose your question is that what marshalling securities, that is a question, then your question will be confined to the provisions of section 81. Suppose a question comes, what is marshalling? When it is used. So here the examiner wants to test your knowledge, how far you are aware of the provisions of marshalling as provided in section 56, that is marshalling by subsequent purchaser, and Section 81, provisions in Section 81, that is marshalling by subsequent mortgagee. Probably, I think now, by now you are clear. On the other day, there was some confusion, so I thought it proper to bring to your information or to make you clear about the provisions of marshalling in both the sections. You read it, both the sections, compare it, and then you will be fundamentally clear and never forget. Now let us see the provisions of section 82. 82 says, contribution to mortgage debt. Contribution. What is contribution? You know, contribution means giving some share of money. Share of money. Suppose you know what is contribution. Sometimes you make, we contribute for a particular purpose, for a particular feast, etc. Contribution is there. How far the contribution will be there? In clearing the mortgage dues. Suppose what it provides, suppose two or more persons, they have mortgaged a particular property, or two or three property, or one property. And in case when the mortgage money is due for payment, how much they will pay? So they will contribute according to the share of the value of the property which they had on the date of mortgage. That is called contribution. And they will contribute in payment of the mortgage dues according to the value of the property. In absence of a contract to the contrary, it's always there. If there is a contract, they will contribute equally or with a particular proportion. That is to be accepted. That is to be followed. But such a contract is not there. In such case, those persons are liable to contribute for clear payment of the mortgage dues according to the value, what is proper according to their respective share in that property. That provision is there, section 82. What it says? Where a property subject to a mortgage belongs to two or more persons having distinct and separate rights. Equal right is this, equal contribution. When a property belongs to several persons, two or more persons, having distinct and separate right of ownership therein, the different share in or parts of such property owned by such person are, in the absence of a contract to the contrary, then the different share, the required share, the distinct share, what is the share? That in absence of a contract to the contrary, liable to contribute ratably to the debt secured by the mortgage. Ratably. Suppose a property belongs to A and B. Then there is no contract. Both of them had mortgaged that property. A had 50% share in that property. B had that is 1/4 share. Suppose the property belongs to A, B, C. C had 1/4 share. So they had borrowed money. They had borrowed 20 lakh from the bank, giving security from that. So in such case, for payment of the mortgage dues, A will contribute 50% of the mortgage money, that is 10 lakh. This is other 5 lakh. C will pay 5 lakh and interest. So this is called contribution. What it says? When a property belongs to two or more person and that has been mortgaged, and those persons have distinct interest or disproportionate share in that property, then in absence of a contract to the contrary, they are liable to contribute for payment of the mortgage money as per the value of the share, or part shall be the mortgagee, the share after deduction of the amount of any other mortgage. Suppose one of other mortgage is there, or charge to which it may have been subjected on that date. This is provision, section 82. It is a very simple provision. What is contribution? Never be confused. What is contribution? Sometimes a question comes, partially contribution. It is not a very difficult provision. But you do not take the pain to go through the provisions, and sometimes you skip up this section. So that's why you are not fundamentally clear. So because it appears that there is a difficult question. What is contribution? What it says? Where property subject to a mortgage property subject to a mortgage belongs to two or more persons having distinct and separate right of ownership. Having distinct and separate right of ownership, therein the different shares or different shares in or part of such property owned by such person, different share owned by such person, are in the absence of a contract to the contrary, what contrary, liable to contribute ratably. Contribute ratably according to the value of the property which they are, ratably to the debt secured by the mortgage. And for the purpose of determining the rate at which each such share or part shall contribute, to determine what will be the proportionate, what will be the rate in which they will contribute, the value thereof shall be deemed to be its value at the date of the mortgage after deduction of the amount of any other mortgage. The value of such property will be taken into consideration to fix the rateable distribution, rateable contribution, in what rate each of them will contribute after deducting the amount of any other mortgage or charges to which it may have been subjected to that section. Where of two properties belong to the same owner, one is mortgaged to secure one debt and then both are mortgaged to secure another debt. Suppose a same owner is there. He had mortgaged one property to a particular bank, and thereafter one is mortgaged to one debt and then both are mortgaged to secure another. Suppose that property and another property were mortgaged for another debt, and the former debt is paid out of the former property. For former debt, each property is in the absence of a contract to the contrary liable to contribute ratably to the latter debt after deducting the amount of former. So in such case, the former debt that is due, mortgage due, is to be paid. Thereafter, if some money is left, then that money and the value of the other property, those property will be taken into consideration to fix up the liability of contribution to the latter after deducting the amount of former debt from the value of the property out of which it has been paid. So this similar thing, a person, two properties belong to a particular person. Property X and Y belong to Ram or Hari. Property X and Y belong to Hari. Hari had first mortgaged that property X to a particular bank. Thereafter, he mortgaged that X and Y, both the property of him, to another bank. So in such case, the former debt, first the debt due to the first bank, that is property X, that will be paid. If some other property is left, some value of the property is left, that value will be taken into consideration with the value of other property. Is in the absence of a contract liable to contribute ratably. That those properties will be liable to contribute ratably after latter debt, after deducting the amount of former debt from the value of the property out of which it has been paid. Nothing in this section applies to a property liable under section 81 to the claim of the subsequent, but that is, this provision will also not affect the provisions of section 81, that is marshalling securities. Now, section 83 is a provision which gives a right to the mortgagor to deposit the mortgage dues in court and make a prayer to the court that the mortgagee be asked to receive the mortgage money and to return the discharge the mortgage, or if the mortgage documents are there, to return the mortgage documents to him, or if the mortgage is in possession, to redeliver possession of the mortgage property to him. This is section 83. What it says, when this right will be exercised, at any time after the mortgage money is due for payment, then this right can be exercised. The mortgagor can apply to the court and deposit the mortgage money in court, and with making a prayer that the mortgagee be to receive the amount and to return the mortgage documents, and if he is in possession, to redeliver possession of the mortgage property to him. This section 83 says, at any time after the principal money payable in respect of a mortgage has become due. So principal money has become due, then, and before the suit for redemption of the mortgage property is barred. Again, second condition is that mortgage money is due for payment and before the suit for redemption is barred. If the suit for redemption is barred, then that as per the law of limitation, then this right cannot be exercised. At any time when the mortgage money is due for payment and before the suit for redemption is barred under the law option, the mortgagor or any other person entitled to institute or suit, mortgagor or any other person that is sections provides that any person claiming to him, he also can exercise right of redemption. So any other person, the mortgagor or any other person entitled to institute or suit may deposit in any court in which he might have instituted such suit. In which court? In which court he might have instituted suit for redemption. To the account of the mortgagee, the amount remaining due on the mortgage. The account of the mortgagee, that person that will be deposited, the mortgage due in court. When this right can be exercised? At any time after the mortgage money is due for payment and before the suit for redemption has become barred by the limitation. The mortgagor has a right to deposit the mortgage dues in court in the account of the mortgage. Then, right to money deposited by mortgagor. Suppose the mortgagor deposited the money. What will be the consequence? The court shall thereupon cause written notice of the deposit to be served on the mortgagee. So, after deposit of the mortgage dues in court, as per the provision of section 83, the court shall send a notice to the mortgagee informing that the mortgage money has been deposited. And the mortgagee may, on presenting a petition verified in manner prescribed by law for the verification plan, then the mortgagee, on presenting a petition supported with verification, as verification is made in the plan, stating the amount then due, you may mention on the application what is the amount due on the mortgage and his willingness to accept the money so deposited in full discharge of such amount, and if he informs the court by giving an application that this is amount due and I am willing to accept the mortgage money deposited in full discharge of the mortgage and depositing in the same court the mortgage deed, and not only that, he will also deposit the mortgage deed in the court and all documents in his possession of power related to the mortgage property, apply for and receive the money. So here, after deposit of the mortgage dues in court by the mortgagor, the court will send a notice to the mortgagee informing him, requiring him that he may take the mortgage money. Then in such case, this intimation is given that your mortgage due has been deposited in court. Then the mortgagee may file an application supported by verification, verifying that application in the manner in which plaintiff is verified, and stating the amount due towards the mortgage, and that he is willing to accept the this money deposited by the mortgagor towards the mortgage dues, and he will also deposit the mortgage documents in court, and then he may make a prayer to receive the money. And the mortgage deed and all such other documents so deposited shall be delivered to the mortgage. If such a prayer is made, then the mortgage document and other documents so deposited in the court by the mortgagee shall be delivered to the mortgagor or such other person as appropriate. Where the mortgagee in possession of the mortgage property, suppose the mortgagee is in possession of the mortgage property, the court shall, before paying to him the amount so deposited, the court, before making payment of the mortgage money deposited by the mortgagor, shall direct the mortgagee to deliver possession thereof to the mortgagor. That shall direct that the mortgage property, possession of the mortgage property will be delivered. And at the cost of the mortgagor, either to retransfer the mortgage property to the mortgagor. Suppose retransfer is required, registration is required, at the cost of the mortgagor will make a retransfer to such third party. Even if a mortgagor wants that the property be transferred in the name of his son or name of his creditor or a third person, then the mortgagee is bound to retransfer that property in the name of that third person, as the mortgage may direct, or to execute, and where the mortgage has been effected by registered instrument, have registered an acknowledgement in writing, and you also, the mortgagee will also execute acknowledgement receipt, where it has been registered, also get that acknowledgement received registered, that in right in derogation of the mortgagor's interest transferring to the mortgagee has been extinguished. That whatever interest the mortgagor had transferred in respect of that mortgage had been extinguished. This is the provisions of section 83. What is that? Power to deposit in court money due on mortgage. This is section 83, 84. Cessation of interest. What is cessation of interest? So once the mortgage money is deposited and notice is given to the mortgagee, as informing him to receive the mortgage dues, then from the date of receipt of that notice, that principal money will not accrue any interest. The mortgagee is not entitled to get any interest on the principal money. That is called cessation of interest. What is that? When the mortgagor or such other person, as aforesaid, has tendered or deposited in court under section 83, the money is mortgage dues is tendered to the mortgagee or deposited the mortgage money in court, the amount remaining due on the mortgage, interest on the principal money shall cease. Then the mortgagee will not be no longer be entitled to get interest on the principal money. From which date? From the date of tender. When it is tender, or in the case of deposit where no previous tender of such amount has been made, as soon as the mortgagor or such a person has done all that has to be done by him to enable the mortgagee to take such amount. That means after getting notice out of court, and the notice required by section 83 has been sought. So if a tender has been made, so if it is proved that from the date of tender, tender means offering, you receive the mortgage money, the mortgagor asks the mortgagee, money is tendered. From the date of tender, that principal will not accrue any interest. Similarly, or if a notice has, if suppose previously no money has been tendered, the mortgage dues had not been tendered to the mortgagee, but it was deposited in court. Then, after taking all steps, when notice is given to the mortgagee to take the mortgage money, from that date onwards, the principal will not be liable for any interest. Provided that where the mortgagor has deposited such amount without having made a previous tender. Suppose the mortgagor without previous tender has deposited money and has subsequently withdrawn the same or any part. Suppose he has deposited the money but subsequently withdraw a part thereof. Interest on the principal money shall be payable. In such case, interest money shall be payable from the date of such withdrawal. Even the entire money withdrawal or part of the money is withdrawn from that, then the principal money is liable for interest. Nothing in this section or section 83 shall be deemed to deprive the mortgagee of his right to interest when there exists a contract that he shall be entitled to a reasonable notice before payment or tender of the mortgage. Suppose in the mortgage deed, or there is a contract that before deposit of the mortgage dues in court or before tender of the mortgage money to the mortgagee, a notice will be given by the mortgagor. If such a contract is there, then this section 84 will not be applicable regarding cessation of interest on principal. And such notice, if such notice has not been given before making the tender or deposit, if such notice has not been given, even if it has been deposited in court, then these provisions will not be, because the parties had entered a contract, the mortgagor and mortgagee had entered a contract that before tender of the mortgage money or deposit of the mortgage money in court, notice must be given by the mortgagor to the mortgagee. Now, section 85 that has been repealed, 86 to 90, those sections have been repealed. Section 91 says, person who may sue for redemption. You are aware that what is right of redemption? This redemption is a right, it is available to the mortgagor. What is this right? That asking the mortgagee to receive the mortgage money, return to discharge the mortgage, and if the documents are there, return the mortgage, those documents to him. Or if mortgage is in possession, redelivery possession of the mortgage property. This is right is called right of redemption. When a suit is filed, that is called suit of redemption. So what? So who are entitled? Mortgagor is entitled to exercise the right of redemption. But Section 91, it also gives this right to some other person besides mortgagor to exercise the right of redemption. This is Section 91. Besides the mortgagor, any of the following persons, besides the mortgagor, apart from the mortgagor, apart from the mortgagor, any of the following persons may redeem or institute a suit for redemption of the mortgage property. Section 91. You should understand. Mortgagor has a right to redeem, but some other persons, as provided in Section 91, other persons, apart from the mortgagor, they can exercise the right. They can file a suit for redemption. Who are they? First, any person other than the mortgagee of the interest sought to be redeemed. Any person other than the mortgagee. The mortgagee has no right. Who has any interest in or charge upon the property mortgaged or in or upon the right to redeem the same. First category person is any person other than the mortgage who has any right, who has any interest in charge will understand what is charge. Section 100 of the Transport Property Act defines charge. What is charge? When immovable property of one person by act of the person, parties, or by operation of law, but not under mortgage, is liable to pay certain dues, some money to other, then the latter person is said to have a charge on that property. This is defined in Section 100. When we will discuss Section 100, we will try to understand the provisions, what is charge. So what it says, Section 91 says, any person other than the mortgagee of the interest sought to be redeemed. The mortgagee, which interest is to be redeemed? The mortgagee has no right. Because how can mortgagee can file a suit against him only? So any person other than the mortgagee of the interest sought to be redeemed, who has any interest in, any person who has interest in or charge upon the property mortgage or in or upon the right to redeem the same, or any person any interest who has any interest or charge upon the right to redeem the property. Any surety for the payment of the mortgage debt or any part thereof. You should understand. Suppose a surety is there. X had borrowed money. X and Y are friends. X borrowed a particular amount as a principal borrow from the bank. Y stood as surety. What is surety? Who gives a guarantee for payment of the money to the bank in case of default of the original borrower? Principal borrower. Principal borrower and guarantor. Guarantor means who gives guarantee is called surety. So what is called? Any surety for the payment of the mortgage debt or any part thereof. Suppose a person who stood as a surety, he can pay the mortgage dues and he will step into the shoe of the mortgagee once a redemption takes place. So, who can file a suit for redemption? Other than the mortgagor, any person, except the mortgagee, who has any interest or who has charge or either on the mortgage property, on the right of redemption of the mortgage property. Second is to who has a right. Then, second category is that any person who is a surety of the mortgage debt, any surety for the payment of the mortgage debt or any part of the mortgage debt. Third, any creditor of the mortgagor who has in a suit for the administration of his estate obtained a decree for sale of the mortgage property. Any other creditor who had filed a suit and he had obtained a decree for sale of the mortgage property. So that creditor can file a suit for redemption. These three categories of persons. It is sometimes then these three categories of persons, three types of persons, other than mortgagor, have a right, has right to what? To file a suit for redemption. Who are they? Other than the mortgagor, beside the mortgagor, the following three persons, following three categories of persons can file a suit for redemption. First, any person who has a interest or charge or was any, or was a, that is the any interest or charge upon the property mortgage, or in or upon the right to redeem the same. In or right to redeem the same, he has any charge. Second, any surety of the mortgage or mortgage debt or any part thereof. Any creditor of the mortgagor who has obtained a decree for sale of the mortgage, other creditor, mortgage property, he can file a suit for redemption. Let us complete our discussion today on the, then in our next session we will discuss the other provision, that is subrogation. It is also very important. Sometimes you think that subrogation is a very difficult matter, difficult topic. So like what is, we covered this, what is this contribution, marshalling contribution. Now third category, that is subrogation. Thank you all.